Hello, everyone. We are back here after the screening of three wonderful documentaries, two short documentaries that portray, that show us what is going on with the Black Lives Movement right now. The first one is called Just Listen, and it's a music video for Elijah McCain, who was murdered, who was killed because of police brutality. And the second short one is called Black Lives Movement, and that's the June 2nd protest movement and marches that started the whole Black Lives Movement in the first place, the beginnings of it. And the director of those two films is with us, Ching, filmmaker, videographer, documentary filmmaker, and violist. She is a musician and a filmmaker at the same time. Therefore, this first film, the music video, is especially important for her. We also have with us Paula John Caplan, who is the producer of the second documentary, which is a longer documentary. And that one is Isaac Pope, The Spirit of an American Century. It's the story of Isaac Pope, who is a centenarian man, and he tells everything he experienced and saw during his lifetime, including the civil rights movement, including everything else that was happening from a race relations point of view. So we have these two filmmakers. I am trying to see if there are any audience members with comments. Please post a comment. I'm going to make a example. Please post your questions and comments here. As questions and comments come in, I'm going to read them out loud and we are going to discuss them. But in order for us to start the conversation, let me ask the question to each one of you, starting with Ching. What made you, I know you are an avid videographer and you're always there where there is important action, but on this particular occasion, what made you go and record these two important happenings, like the music vigil and the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, thank you, Nora, for having me. The Black Lives Matter event, which is the second short film, was a event happened on June 2nd. This year. It was shortly after George Floyd died, who died on May 25th. So that was the very early protests happened in New York, which I went. And I am consider myself kind of like I'm employing myself as a self journalist slash videographer slash filmmaker. So I went that event to shoot. And then for the other film, the first one, Just Listen, it is a violin visual. It's called Violin Visual for Elijah McClain. And that one, actually, I need to credit to Juhl, my son, who actually is a violist student at Juilliard right now. And his friend, Jade, asked him to go. And then he told me he's going. Then we drove together and to the side. So I don't know, if I would have found out this event, if not for Sean told me that. And I'm so proud of him, and he's, part of this event. It was really touching to see so many young musicians from many different colors, many different races, to be there and to play music together.
Yeah. And Paula, tell us, I mean, we had a chat already about these films, but it's always interesting for the audience. Maybe we have new people who didn't see that one, to find out how you came up with the idea of this film and where you started, because it's like not easy to cover an entire century, even if it's told through the eyes of one person.
Right. I will answer that. I first just want to say I just saw Ching's films for the first time. And they're so moving and so beautiful, Ching. And
Thank you.
the Just Listen one, to have a vigil that's all music, was so moving. And then the Black Lives Matter protest, it made me feel like I was right there. And beautiful work. Thank you. So
Thank you.
now, I heard about Isaac Pope all my life because my late father, who was white and Jewish, was a captain in the 969th Artillery Battery in World War II. They fought in the famous Battle of the Bulge. And all the time I was growing up, he would tell me about this one man he'd point to in the picture, and he would say, that was Isaac Pope. He was the sweetest guy you'd ever want to meet. But he hadn't had much education, and he worked so hard, and he was so smart that he very quickly became first sergeant, which is a big deal in the Army. And so I heard about him all my life. And then after my father died, I wrote to him and I told him what my father always said, and he wrote back to me. I then got to meet him. And I was making a film called Is Anybody Listening, which is about veterans, military veterans. And I thought, we need to get a World War II veteran. Oh, Isaac Pope. As soon as he started talking to me, he was just such a phenomenal storyteller and so warm and interesting and perceptive. And so we went to film him, Friedman, who's our great cinematographer. We went to Kinston, North Carolina, to film him get a little bit, for the veterans film. And when we got there, I said to Joe, no, we're going to spend hours with him. I want to hear his whole life story, because his grandparents were enslaved, his parents were sharecroppers, and he had nothing material. And he did so much for so many people. He was a real unsung hero. And part of the film, about World War II, they were the first Black unit the Army allowed to go into battle. And they were the first Black unit to win a presidential citation for meritorious service. Then he came home after having fought against Hitler's racism and all of that horror. He came back, and on the ship on the way back, as he says in the film, he says, we were getting ready to disembark when we got back to the States. And he said, this white sergeant said, everybody going North Carolina, go this way. And as these Black men returning to the South passed him, he said, don't you think anything's changed? And
Wow.
so he said it was devastating. And so he came back and he worked with his local NAACP, and he tried to help bring in the union to his workplace. He was a pillar of his church. And so he was wonderful. I miss him. I've seen this film a million times. I was just feeling tonight how much I miss him.
Yeah, it is a fascinating film, and it's a fascinating character. And that's the best, that's the strength of any documentary, because if we are not attached to the main character in it, or the narrator, or the protagonist that is actually carrying us through, we are not really interested. And I come back to Ching because in her film, Just Listen, we also have a number of protagonists, people who she has interviewed. So maybe you can tell us something about that, Ching, that how do you focus on the people? How do you pick who you want to put in your film?
Yeah, well, this Just Listen is really a kind of like I would say, it's not really planned documentary. It's more like a news piece, because I just went. I had no expectations. I don't know what was I getting into. So I have to constantly, excuse me, grab people, like grab. So the first person I want to grab is the main leader, is Sean. Sean is not my son, Sean, the African American violinist who is conducting the thing. So I tried to talk to him, and he was a little bit he didn't talk a lot, talk shortly. He said the whole reason we're here is because we want to give Elisha a concert. He said that. So I did include that. And then later on, I met a very interesting young lady who's a Asian Russian. she's Russian, but she's all Asian. So I just started to chat with her, and then recorded her talk, and so she was very vibrant and told me why she was there, and the reason she's involved. She was basking at the Times Square, and then she met this and that, and then she related to. And then later on, and then I also, of course, talked to Sean, my son, who is a very soft-spoken person, but he said something at a very early stage, because the whole piece is all playing, and so I have to insert these talks in here and there. Otherwise it's kind of a little bit bland. So I thought I did an okay job by insert different talks at the different times. So Sean did mention that that's his first time come out after like 3 or 4 months of being isolated. He was very happy to be part of this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then in the end we have Jessie, lady Jessie, and she was very interesting. But it was not a whole lot of talking. But she told me she had a day gig to play for who's that what's this famous singer? Yeah, Beyonce. She said she played for Beyonce. Okay, all right, wow, wonderful. So anyway, yeah, we have a few interesting characters there. I wish it's a little longer, and then I can have a more in-depth of an interview.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you both, actually. Do you have a lot more footage that didn't end up in the film, or are you feeling that you didn't have enough footage that you would have liked to have more? So maybe Paula can answer first about, did you have more footage that never made it to the film, or?
Yes, we had a lot more because he was such a great storyteller, and we would go back a number of times to visit. We went back to film his birthday party, and actually for his 100th birthday, which is there's a photograph from that at the very end of the film. We were able to show him a rough cut, and
wow!
So I was just determined, to do that. But when we would go there, we'd take him. He loved oysters, and so we'd get him oysters at his favorite place, and we'd sit there. And Joe, the camera guy, and Joe Friedman and I would sit there, and we'd just ask him questions. He would start talking. And Joe would get out his camera. We have the longest piece about how once a year his parents and all the neighbors would get together, and they would kill a hog that they would all then eat from. But I can't make it a fascinating story. We were just spellbound. We've got so much footage of him, and I wish we could have made it longer, but it was a joy to get what we had. And I want to ask Ching a question before she answers yours, if that's okay. I was wondering when I was watching your Just Listen, I was wondering if Elijah had some connection with music himself.
Yeah.
Or he did. Okay, I want to hear about that. But I also want to say that the arts are so healing, and often when there's a vigil about something tragic, you don't end up with any hope. You're just devastated, and that music brought beauty and hope. And I thought, well, that's what should always happen.
Yeah. No, the reason I think it's called violin vigil for Elijah is Elijah was a violinist, was a violin player. Yeah.
Oh,
so African American violin player. Yeah.
Yeah,
he lives in Colorado.
Don't forget that one. About, did you feel like you had enough footage that didn't make it, or would you have rather wanted to shoot more? Or
me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the both piece of Just Listen and Black Lives Matters, more or less they are really news piece. So it's just a one shot, and I hate to say in the middle sometimes I have a jump cut. I realized that, but I don't have enough, like cutaway
Inserts, yeah.
footage to cut away, and so I thought it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to have jump cut. Is because it's kind of just at the, so it's not like a so
Yeah.
no, I wish I could sit down, and I wish I could interview more people, especially at the protest. I was fishing people. I was looking at people who I can talk to. So I talked to the young girl who was 24 years old, 27 years old, and briefly. Then I talked to one of African American person. His name is Rahim, I think Rahim, and I don't even have his last name. So and
Yeah.
he was very vibrant, and he said he had a really good statement. But I love talking to people. I love to capture people's interview. Yeah. So to answer your
Yeah,
question,
and
I would
yeah,
love to have more.
absolutely, to have more,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love
And by the
more
way,
talking.
Ching also has this program she does on Mondays and Wednesdays where she hosts and interviews interesting people. She's been doing like from the beginning of the lockdown, and how many, 40 something by
I
now,
did a 47 yesterday.
47 sessions. She's
Yeah.
does it every day, Monday and Wednesday, and
Yeah.
I've been honored to be on there twice already.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are two different forms we are talking about here, and they are completely complementary. The reason why I decided to put these two films that Ching made and Paula's film together in the same program is because Ching's shorts show the situation now, what is happening right now with the Black Lives Movement and the vigils and all those protests and everything. Whereas Paula's film is showing us the historic overview, the background, the story from beginning to end through the life of this one man. So it's very complementary. One can watch this program and get a full view of then and now. So that was part of the reason. And also, there are two different approaches. One of them is really taking its time and shooting over X number of days or months or whatever. And then from that, gathering a story, putting it together so that it has a beginning, middle, and an end, or an arc of progression at that point. And then based on that, a lot of stuff can be left out. Whereas Ching, it's more like the reportage or the journalist approach. She's there a moment, an important moment, important things are happening. She cannot stand there and think and say, oh, shall I do this or not? You just have to shoot, and ask questions later.
Yeah. Shaking camera.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something,
Yeah.
Paula? Paula, can I tell you something, Nora?
Yeah.
I've been, when I go to shoot these events, I just use my iPhone 11. So the whole thing is iPhone 11 production. You have no sound, Paula. You have no sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's
But
fabulous that
it's
you do
true.
that.
And also with the film festival, Ching has taught how to make smartphone movies, and they can come in very handy. Like some of the later models of the iPhone, they are very, very sharp and very good. And it's easy because it's in your pocket. You don't have to have a big contraption. You don't have to have lights and this and that. You just shoot and then think about, okay, how am I collecting this story together?
Yeah.
All right. So I also want to take this opportunity and thank you both, because I really cannot thank the filmmakers enough, from the festival itself to this retrospective to the special programs that we do, because without filmmakers, we don't have a festival. It's very obvious. And also for generously allowing the festival to screen your films. As we know, it's all screening free of charge. The festival is not making any money, and we are asking people to be generous and donate. On the festival website, which I should just portray, there are all the information about the other films which are screening later today at 9 o'clock. There is Stonewall with a T. And tomorrow we have a whole program on prisons with a talk show in the middle at 5:30 p.m. So there is still a lot happening between the 2 days. This was the first of the program and a very appropriate beginning with the now and the then, or the then and the now. And before we wrap, I want to ask you both to ask each other a question if you wanted to, because I don't see any comments here. I'm looking to see if any audience members are putting comments. They are not. Maybe they will do later, because some people maybe are still watching the film or didn't get that we are doing a Q&A. So this will be posted on our YouTube channel. So please, if you are watching or if you do watch anytime, subscribe to the channel and make sure. Oh, there is a private chat. Oh,
Don't read my private chat. That's for Paula.
right. I was about to read it.
That's secret. Top secret.
It was a comment from the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I have I started to watch Paula's film, and then sorry, Nora. Sometimes you think I'm very techie, but later on I stopped, and then later on I just couldn't find the link anymore. So for whatever reason, I need the link again. I want to continue watch, and I want to watch 9 o'clock also. So I'm having hard time to find the link of the film. So sorry.
The links are in the ticketing thing.
Yeah. It's you go in there, they give you a ticket, and it's like a ticket. So the ticket goes nowhere.
Don't worry, I'm going
give it to me. Yeah. So I have a question for Paula. So Pope this name is really awesome, And so is his real name Pope?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
It is. It is, and the popes. There are a lot of African American people named Pope, in the especially, but there are also some white people named Pope. But that was his real name, and I have to tell you that to the day he died, he was saying, "I don't know why they're making a film about me." I didn't think there was anything special then.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to ask you. We had to get releases signed by the people in our film, and you operate very differently. And I was thinking, I wish that the people in your film could see your film. And I don't know if there's a way to contact them, but we need to get the word out.
Right.
Everybody
should watch it. Yeah. Actually, I already sent this before to not every single person, but so like the Asian girl, Asian Russian girl. Yeah, she's so what I do is I try to be Facebook friend with all people I interview, and then I would just later just show them what the work is. Yeah, so it is not. It's really difficult. It's one of the stinky thing I want to do is to collect release form from people. I just really hate it. So anyway, but sometimes I just say, can I video you? And then I include that in my video. So that can be somewhat quasi release form.
Yeah, if they actually say it on camera.
Yeah, but since my work, these works, they are kind of not like making gazillions money yet, so it's not a huge issue. In terms people will come by and say, hey, where's my money?
Exactly.
But
it is a very legitimate question, because we are always told that you have to have, but it's very difficult. Maybe now with iPhones and everything, maybe there's an electronic way that people can just put a quick signature electronically. I don't know if that can be.
Actually, and someone actually want to use a little bit of my footage of the Black Lives Matter. I think like they want to use 10 seconds in the film, so they actually approached me, and then they sent me a really, 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 really long release form I was like, come on, give me a break, you know? You're just using 10 seconds. But anyway, and then they had the language is like we do not give credits to nobody. I was like, hello, are you sure this sentence you want to include? Anyway, so yeah, speaking of release form, it is a very, very touchy issue, for myself. Yeah.
But I'm guessing that if you just have them on camera and you're saying, is it okay if we film you and use it?
Yeah. Yes.
That's, they've
Yeah.
said it. They've said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have somebody here who's put a very nice remark. I think I should put it here. A very good friend of the festival.
Oh,
And
Donna.
a supporter. And we know
Yes.
her. And she's saying, thanks for an enlightening evening, Dana and Frank. So we are very happy about that.
Thank
So
you. Thank you, Dana.
we are into 25 minutes, and this is a
Okay.
very interesting chat. But there is another film coming up soon, and I'm going to be doing another Q&A after that.
Yeah.
So I will just wrap, unless you have one final wrapping question you want to ask each other, or
I'm going to say thank you, Nora, for the tireless work you do.
Thank you. Now I think I have earned a 2-3 day holiday to go and lock myself up somewhere.
Lock up. Yeah. Thank you, Nora.
From one lockdown to another lockdown.
Yeah. And nice meeting you, Paula. Do you have a Facebook page? Can I be your friend?
Yes, I'll email you.
Yeah, and I will email you the links.
Oh, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
for joining.
All right.
We have a
Thanks.
few people actually watching. We have 3
Yeah, that's
people
great.
with likes, and then we have
Yeah.
people who are actually watching, and Dana made a remark. And then once we post it, people who have finished watching, they might still go and catch the Q&A, which will be on the YouTube channel.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
All the best.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. Be safe. Bye.
You too.
Bye.